Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. I just want to apologise for being a little bit late today. I had a little bit of trouble setting up the stream because the Wi-Fi in our house is proper shite basically, and it can't even handle my phone, never mind my computer, to run a live stream. So I do apologise about that one. I do just want to say it's saying that the connection's a little bit bad on my part, so if you could let me know if there's any issues whatsoever, it'd be greatly appreciated in the live comments below. If there's any buffering or anything like that, it'd be massively appreciated. CJ says hi CJ, hope you are doing well. We're here today to talk about Marco Silva and Marcel Brands. Of course, like we said on Friday, we're going to talk about how I believe they should approach this upcoming summer transfer window, of course, including incomings and outgoings as well, because, you know, we all sit back when it hits the summer and the transfer window opens, and we all sort of sit there and think, yeah, can't wait to bring in X, can't wait to bring in Y, can't wait to bring in Z, but you don't actually realise that a lot of the business that Everton are going to be doing this summer, and a lot of the business that Marco Silva and Marcel Brands have to do this summer, is the is the players that are going to be leaving the club. There's a lot of players at Everton Football Club at the minute on massive contracts, and they don't even get anywhere near the starting, squad, never mind the starting team. So it's a massive job for Marcel Brands to be able to get rid of those players and hopefully get some money back on them as well. We're talking about the likes of Sandro Ramirez, we're talking about Yannick Bolasie, we're talking about Kevin Morales. Kevin Morales is a little bit different because obviously he's given us a lot of years, and a lot of those years, he was playing really well, of course. In Martinez's first and second season, he was playing well. But, the likes of Sandro Ramirez, 120 odd grand a week, and we've absolutely had nothing from him. Yannick Bolasie is constantly injury prone, and he's on something like 70 grand a week. Obviously, we've just got rid of Ashley Williams, who was another player that needed to leave the club, but his contract expired, so it was a simple case of not renewing his contract. But it's a little bit more difficult with the other players. It's a little bit more difficult finding a club that are going to want to take Sandro Ramirez on for the wages that he's on, because otherwise he's just going to say, no, I'll stay here and get paid a shitload of money to either sit on the bench or go out on loan to a side that, probably won't get in either. So that is obviously a massive part of the summer. Marcel Brands said in January that, we don't expect too much business in January because it's one in, one out. I should expect that there'll be more business in the summer, of course, and it mightn't necessarily be a one in, one out system, but it's definitely vital for us to get rid of those deadwood players, those players that are just sitting in the background earning money and knocking down the wage bill for other potential players that could come in and actually have a massive effect on the squad. Like I said, as an Evertonian and as a football fan, really, you're sitting there looking at your team and you're thinking, right, who are we going to sign, who's coming in? But it's, equally, if not more important, for the players that are going to be leaving the club. And, could get announced one day that a Sandro Ramirez has left the club, or a Morgan Schneider, and although you might look at that and go, yeah, fair enough, it is what it is, it's actually a little bit more important than you see on the face of it, because that frees up a lot of money in the wage bill that can then go on a player that's actually going to affect the squad. And of course, if you can get some money back for it, it adds to the transfer fee as well. And there is about 6 or 7 or 8 players that I can think of off the top of my head that we do just need to get rid of, and then there's players that are in and involved with the squad but are probably on a little bit too much money to stay, and we could even get rid of them. We'll talk about them, of course, in today's team. I want to talk about John Joe Kenny. He was a player that wasn't necessarily on my list to desperately need to get rid of. I definitely think he was a player that needed to go out on loan to get some experience. If you haven't heard the news, John Joe Kenny has today signed for FC Schalke in the Bundesliga in Germany for the entirety of the 2019-2020 season. He'll spend the season on loan over in the Bundesliga, very similar to Ademola Lookman spending half of last season in the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig as well. So, it's a positive move for John Joe. I think it's a positive move for all parties, to be honest with you. He was quite clear that he wasn't, good enough to break into this first team. Quite clear that he wasn't really giving Seamus Coleman the push and the kick up the arse that we really needed. He's obviously going to go out to Germany. He's going to get experience in a different league. He's going to get experience in a different country. And I should hope and I should assume that he's going to play, quite frequently, if not pretty much every game over there for Schalke. So it's really good experience for him as a player, and good experience for us as a club to send him out there, let him get some experience in a different league, playing in a different way with a different set of players, and then come back and let's see how much he has improved going obviously into the season after next. The it begs a big question, leaves a big hole. Who does Marco Silva and Marcel Brands bring in? Are they now looking for a right back to come in and replace John Joe Kenny straight up? Are they now thinking that Mason Holgate's going to come in and he's going to be the backup right back, or even the right back to, challenge Seamus Coleman for that, right back position in the starting 11? Or is Mason Holgate's plans to be put in the centre back position and he takes up the spot of Phil Jagielka, who obviously left the club as well, or will be leaving the club, at the end of this month? And then do we need a right back? Either way, we now pretty much know we need at least 2 centre halves and or a right back. We're going to need a right back either way, whether it's Mason Holgate or somebody else, because obviously Seamus Coleman hasn't had the best of luck in recent years in terms of injuries, etc. And we're going to need a centre half anyway, because we've literally got Yerry Mina and Michael Keane, and Yerry Mina hasn't had the best first season ever in terms of injuries and keeping fit as well. If we can bring Kurt Zouma in, do we still need another centre half? We're going to talk about it all in today's live stream. Ian says, how are you, bud? I'm doing fine, thank you, Ian. I hope you are doing well yourself. Jamie says, alright, mate. Alright, Jamie, hope you are doing well. CJ says, no problems, mate. That's good. Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully we stay problem free for the stream, touch wood. The real Cheng Tosin says, thoughts on Kenny moves to Schalke? I think it could be a great learning curve for him. Yeah, like I said, listen, I think it's positive for all parties. I think it was quite clear that John Joe Kenny wasn't going to learn anything. He wasn't going to develop just sitting on our bench. We all knew from the time that he spent in the first team, although it might be a little bit harsh, it might seem a little bit harsh to say or not fair to say, but I just don't think he's good enough, and I don't think he will be good enough unless he gets that experience, unless he goes out on loan and he plays a lot more games, whether it be in a different league in this country or whether it be in a different league in a different country like we've seen. So I personally I think it's a great move all around. I think it's a great move for the player, a great move for Schalke, and a great move for the club. Sorry about that. Jamie says, Germany is a great place for young players to learn their trade. I agree, spot on. Look at Jadon Sancho of Borussia Dortmund, obviously now ex-Man City player. Ian says, Jamie, yeah, I'd go there if I was trying to break through. There was a bit more of a queue at home. Yeah, exactly. The Football Blue says, hi Cameron, thoughts on John Joe Kenny leaving for Schalke on loan? Like I said, I think it's positive for everyone involved, including John Joe himself, and that's the most important thing. And Football Blues also said, thoughts on the Chelsea manager situation? I don't have many thoughts, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, other than I just think he's won the Europa League for Chelsea, so I don't see how many people can complain, but whatever it is, what it is. Sean says, yes, Cameron, my guy. Yes, Sean, hope you are doing well. Hope you're enjoying your shift. That guy says, why haven't we signed anyone yet apart from Lozil? I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with the Gomez signing. I think a lot of it has to do with the Zouma negotiations as well. Listen, I do think we'll sign Andre Gomez. I just think it's a case of Barcelona playing hardball at the minute and trying to sort of rinse us out for as much money as possible. I think Kurt Zouma, there's going to be a little bit more of an in-depth discussion with Chelsea. Sorry, I've lost me train of thought then, because obviously they've got the transfer ban. But I do think there's players in the pipeline. All as I'd say, and my advice would be, is trust in Marco Silva and Marcel Brands. I massively trust in Marcel Brands, so I'm not really worried. I'm not sitting here thinking, why haven't we signed anyone? Why haven't we been massively linked with someone other than Andre Gomez? Because I put my trust in Marcel Brands, to be honest with you, and I really do think he'll provide a striker that can come in and be that striker that we need. I think he'll provide a right back to come in and cover Seamus Coleman when needed, as centre half. I think that we could be sitting here at the end of this transfer window and going, you know what, we've had a really, really good transfer window there, and that's exactly what I want to speak about in today's stream. Bob Stevens says, hey Cameron, love your videos, mate, but you frightened me as you sound so loud at the beginning. Have to reduce my sound and increase again. Sorry, Bob, I do apologise about that. I do tend to shout at the start and then realise that my throat kills, and then you'll see me take about 3 drinks throughout the stream because I've shouted at the start, but I will reduce it, I promise, or I'll just stop shouting. But thank you very much for the compliments anyway, really, really do appreciate that one. The Football Blues says, you're well on the way to 500 subs now. Thank you very much. Yeah, we are. We're literally 8 subscribers away, so if you haven't subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button. It really, really does mean a massive, massive amount to me. And if you're enjoying the stream, please do leave a like as well. The Football Blues says, is John Joe Kenny Irish? Sounds like an Irish name. No, he's English. He plays for the England under-21s. He may well have Irish heritage in him, but he is English and plays for England. And Hazel Hay says, hello Cam, remember me? That's me mum taking the piss. Bob says, Cam, why are we focusing on strikers foremost, as we seem to be linked to many other positions, including midfield, but very rarely centre forward types? Exactly. And you know what I'd say? I'd take a lot of thought process into going onto last season's summer and the way that we weren't necessarily linked with a Luka Dean for very long. We weren't necessarily linked with Andre Gomez. The only real proper link we had to a player that we signed last season was Yerry Mina, and that again was because Barcelona had to hang us out for his transfer fee basically, and wanted a lot more money than what we were originally willing to give. You look at Richarlison, he come in and it was, you know, a quick transfer. It was one that wasn't rumoured a lot. Luca Dean, Bernard was rumoured that we were interested in him, and the next day he was having a medical. Obviously Kurt Zouma and Andre Gomez coming in weren't really rumoured until the last day of the transfer window when they were brought in. So what I'd say is we don't necessarily have to be, you know, linked with Tom, Dick and Harry in the papers. I wouldn't necessarily take too much notice in us being linked with Welbeck. I wouldn't take too much notice in us being linked with Mitrovic, because I think Marcel Brands is really, really good at picking the players that he wants to scout, picking the players that he wants to bring to Everton, going out there and getting deals done, and that actually not breaking to the media until the point of that, you know, we've had a verbal agreement or the players get having a medical, or it's literally bang on that they're going to sign for Everton Football Club. And I'd rather it that way than us be linked with everybody and sign nobody. You know, the days of being linked with Yarmolenko for every day of the transfer window and then him not end up signing for us, it was exciting at the time because you're thinking, is he going to sign, is he not going to sign? But it's quite stressful at the end of it when you don't sign the player. Whereas if you look at last summer, we literally brought 6 really, really good footballers in, and we were only sort of massively linked with one of them for a long period of time, and that was Yerry Mina. The rest of them were sort of in you know, a process of being linked with and then being in straight away, and that's how I'd like it. So what I'd say is I wouldn't worry too much. Like I said, I'm putting a lot of trust in Marcel Brands this summer, and you know, some of you guys might think, you know, you've seen it all before, or you're a lot older than me to realise to not do that with football clubs. But I'm going to take the back seat this summer as a fan, and I'm going to say, listen, the responsibility is on you, Silva, and the responsibility is on you, Brands. And I want to be sitting here at the end of this transfer window and going, boss, we've signed Gomez, we've signed Zouma, we've brought in a really good striker who's proven in the Premier League, and you know, we've brought in a couple of squad players here and there, and we've got rid of a lot of the dead wood. And then, you know, let's bounce on to next season. Because I've sat here over the last couple of weeks and I've said I really do think we can challenge City, not City, bloody hell, getting it ahead of myself there. I really do think we can challenge Chelsea, United, Arsenal, maybe even Spurs for those top 6 or even top 4 places. If not, you know, next year, definitely the year after. But we need to do the business right. If we do our business right, then there's absolutely no reason as to why we shouldn't be challenging United, Arsenal and Chelsea for the top 6 for Europa League football, or maybe even Champions League football. But like I said, we have to do our business right. If we go into next season with the current squad that we've got to today, this date, then we're probably not going to challenge them. But if we do bring in a Gomez, if we do bring in a Zouma, if we do bring in a striker that, you know, is proven to score goals, then I definitely think we could. But like I said, it all boils down to this summer, and it's in Marcel Brands and Marco Silva's hands effectively. Martin says maybe Holgate will be back up to Coleman. Weird we let Kenny go first without signing the right back. Yeah, maybe that might be Marco Silva's plan. He might be looking at Mason in pre-season and thinking, right, you're going to be a backup for someone, you're going to be either backup for centre half or right back, so let's see where you're most comfortable, let's see what your better position is. But I definitely think whichever one he's not more comfortable in, we will sign a player to be the backup, because at the end of the day we've now loaned the right back out, so we've only got one right back, and we've let a centre half go without extending the contract. So we need a position, we need one of those players. If Mason Holgate is going to be the other one, you know, Marco Silva might get into pre-season, look at Mason Holgate and go, no, I want you to go out on loan again for another season, you're not ready. And then we need 2 players, of course. But one thing it does say, as well as the Jagielka situation, is we're looking at players in those positions. I fully expect now Marcel Brands to be looking at a right back, or have a right back in mind, or who knows, we haven't seen anything rumoured. A bit like last season, we might be in talks with a right back, we might be close to agreeing a deal for a right back. It doesn't have to be in the paper all the time. We don't have to assume that, you know, there's no talks going on whatsoever because it's not being reported. It might just be that the business is being done privately, and that seems to be the way Marcel Brands likes to do his business, and I really like that about it. And Bob says, be nice to have new players who pass the ball across one side of the pitch to the others without actually touching the ground. Yeah, you know, it'd be good to obviously bring in some new players, bring in some new additions to the squad, but like I said, we're going to talk about in today's team why getting rid of those deadwood players is equally as important for me. Anyway, I'm just going to tweet this team out so everybody on Twitter knows that we are live, so they can come and join in the conversations if they wish. got a lot of support on the tweets recently as well, so a massive thank you to everybody for that as well. If you follow us on Twitter, if you don't, it's at Mighty Blues YT. Go over there, keep up to date with all the latest Everton information, all the latest information on the channel, and basically everything regarding Everton Football Club. Just tweet that out there. I was going to do a separate video on John Joe Kenny today, but I thought, you know what, I'll just mention it in today's stream. It's not a massive bit of transfer news, it's not a massive deal. I think, he's a player that needed to go out on loan realistically to get experience. Didn't really expect it to be Schalke, to be honest with you. I know it was rumoured a couple of weeks ago that, Schalke were really interested, but it's good for all parties, isn't it? And it means that we're probably going to sign a right back as well. Wan-Bissaka, who knows? I'm not saying anything, no, I'm only wrestling. But anyway, suppose we'll get straight into today's stream. I think the main topic I wanted to talk about, like we said, is how Marco Silva and Marcel Brands should, in my opinion, approach this summer transfer window. Because it's all well and good sitting back going, we need a striker, we need Andre Gomes to sign on a permanent, we need Kurt Zouma to sign on a permanent, we now need a right back. We know what we need. We know we need a striker, and Marco Silva and Marcel Brands know we need a striker. We know we all want, Andre Gomes to come in because he fits in that position that we desperately need. We know we need Idrissa Gana Gueye to stay and maybe even sign another contract. But it's also about what players are going to leave the football club, because there's a load of players that are on. I think there's a certain, it's like 3 stages of players. There's players that are on quite a fair bit of money and have got absolutely no future at the club. There's players that are on quite a fair bit of money and are in and around the squad but not first teamers. And there's players that are obviously on decent money and are playing week in, week out, so they're excluded from being sold. But obviously the players like that we mentioned before, you're looking at Kevin Morales, who's probably not going to have a future at the squad yet, is probably on 50-60 grand a week. Sandro Ramirez, who's on something stupid like over 100 grand a week, hasn't scored a goal in something like 2 years and is meant to be a striker. Obviously there's other players. Nikola Vlasic, who went out on loan, does he have a future at Everton? Not according to him or his father. It doesn't seem like he wants to play here. You then move into the second category of players like Ademola Lookman, Morgan Schneiderlin, who are in and around the squad, but realistically, if we have the opportunity to cash in, should we? If Southampton come in with £30 million bid for Ademola Lookman, should we sell? Morgan Schneiderlin is going to be a player that you'll probably get 15 million from, and it's 70 grand off the wage bill. And I think that's really important to look at that, because I think there's no doubt that Marcel Brands has his eye on a number of squad players that can come in, not on that much money, and play that in and out role, come in and out when they needed to. Happy to, be a rotational player. Whereas the likes of Morgan Schneiderlin and Ademola Lookman have proved in the last couple of months for me that they want to be in and around this squad. They've done it differently. Morgan Schneiderlin started off the season by doing it by sulking and not really giving it 100%, and then obviously he turned that around and you started to see him actually putting in 150% every single week, and he looked like a player that was saying, right, I'm going to force myself into this squad. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the plans for the future. I'm going to make sure that Marco Silva is looking at me going, right, you are a player that I desperately want to sign. Obviously Ademola Lookman, a player that yes has struggled to be in and out the team, but again, attitude maybe doesn't ring the best of signs for Marco Silva, because he's coming on the pitch and he's not really running around, he's just standing still a little bit. I think we should obviously look at the players that are getting paid a fair bit of money and aren't doing anything for the football club before we look at the players that could possibly be in and around the squad next season, because at the end of the day, you're playing 38 Premier League games a season, you're playing, in the FA Cup, you're playing in the Capital One Cup, or the Carabao Cup, whatever it's called these days. You can't just have 11 players, you do need squad players, and Morgan Schneiderlin for me is a really good squad player. Whether he's 60-70 grand a week a squad player, I don't know, that's up to Marcel Brands and Marco Silva to decide, but I think he is quite a good squad player. He's a player that we've seen can come in, do the job that he's meant to do, and then drop back out. Ademola Lookman may be a decent squad player for the cup games, but I think, like I said, we should look at the players that we understand have realistically got no future in Everton Football Club, and if we don't manage to sell them on a permanent deal this summer, they're only going to go out on loan and they're going to stay on the wage bill, and it's another season of dragging their contracts out. So we are looking at, for me, the likes of Yannick Bolasie. We're looking at the likes of my man's gone blank there. We're looking at the likes of Yannick Bolasie. Obviously we're looking at the likes of Cuco Martina, and we're looking at the likes of maybe even Nikola Vlasic. We're looking at the likes of Sandro Ramirez, Kevin Morales. These are players that of course have been brought in on quite decent contracts and have clearly got no future at Everton Football Club. They're not in Marco Silva's plans. It's clear Kevin Morales isn't in Marco Silva's plans, like I mentioned before. Okay. He might have had a fairly decent career at Everton Football Club. He might have given us a couple of decent years, but now we're seeing a player that's gone out on loan to Olympiacos, gone out on loan to Fiorentina, and neither side want to sign him, neither side want to pay his wages, neither side want to pay the transfer fee, to bring him to the club. So that says for me that even the clubs that are taking him on loan are realising, okay, you're not worth what we're going to have to pay for you, you're not worth the wages that we're going to have to give you. So that must ring massive alarm bells in Brands' head and Silva's head as, right, okay, these players aren't worth what we're going to need to pay them. I think it's bang clear that Sandro Ramirez isn't even worth a packet of crisps and a chocolate bar a week. No, man, that was probably a bit sly, but listen, he isn't good enough. He isn't anywhere near good enough, and he does not suit this league. I look at Sandro Ramirez and I look at Cenk Tosun and I think, you know what? I think Cenk Tosun is a really, really good footballer. I think he is good enough. I just don't think he suits this league, and that's why, that's his downfall, and that's why he's not going to succeed at Everton Football Club. Whereas I look at Sandro and I think, you don't suit this league, but you're also not good enough either. And for the money that you're on, we really, really, really need to be pushing to sell Sandro Ramirez. We need to be offering him out to anybody and everybody and saying, listen, we only paid £5 million for him, so even if we are selling for $1 million, we're not going to lose too much money on him. But it's that massive contract that he's on, it's that wage per week that is going to be the factor in this transfer. He's going to sit back and he's going to go, unless I get at least 80% of what I'm on now, I'm not leaving, because I'll just sit back on my fat contract and I'll go out on loan again, sit on somebody else's bench, or I'll sit here on this bench. I'm not leaving. He's in contract for another 2 or 3 years. So there's not much we can do with that. Another one of Ronald Koeman's unbelievable signings, and Steve Walsh's fantastic players that, to be honest, we all sat here and went, that could be a bargain when he first joined the club, but it became clear very quickly that he wasn't fitted to how we were going to play, and he just wasn't good enough. To be honest, I don't think anybody was fitted to how Ronald Koeman was going to play, because I just don't think he was a very good manager. But it became clear that the likes of Sandro Ramirez just weren't good enough to fit into any style of play. Obviously, you've got the likes of Yannick Bolasie, who, again, I loved before he came to Everton, massively wanted him in Everton, really, really excited when we signed him, but again, a player that it just hasn't worked for, it just hasn't worked out for, whether it be injuries, whether it be his confidence when he's played, it just really hasn't worked out for, and I think he's, again, another player that we're going to have to look to get rid of in the summer. If we can make some money back on Sandro, if we can make some money back on Yannick Bolasie, listen, if Nikola Vlasic wants to leave, sell him, make some money back on him. Doesn't matter how much potential he might have, how well he might have done in the Russian league out on loan at CSKA Moscow last season. If he doesn't want to be at Everton Football Club, I'll see you later, mate. You go. And all of a sudden we're making money back on these players. Now we mightn't make a shed load of money back on Sandro and Yannick Bolasie, but we'll make 150 to 200 grand a week in wages off them, and that's 150 to 200 grand a week that for me could go on 4 players that Marcel Brands could bring in, and not just 4 players that are going to come in and sit on the bench and warm the seat, 4 players that are going to come in and either can be first teamers or can be in and out the squad. 4 really, really good squad players that we know Marcel Brands can scout. Let's not beat around the bush here. This is a fella that bought Luca Dean, who's one of the best left backs in Europe, for £18 million. £18 million. £18 million couldn't even buy a Burnley player in this day and age, and he signed one of the best left backs in Europe for it. Yes, he paid a lot of money for Richarlison, but it's paid off. He's our top goal scorer. He's smashing it for Brazil. He's scoring every time he goes on international duty. Yes, we paid a lot of money for Yerry Mina, but you've seen the potential that he's got. You've seen how well he played in the World Cup. We got Andre Gomez on loan. We're going to sign him 25 million. Again, it's nothing in this day and age. So that's why I do really, really trust in Marcel Brands in terms of the incomings. For me, the thing that we should be looking at this summer the most is the outgoings, because it's out of Marcel Brands' hands really to be able to sell the likes of Yannick Bolasie, the likes of Sandro Ramirez. If we're sitting here at the end of the transfer window and those 2 players have left Everton Football Club on permanent deals, and we've managed to get rid of that massive hole, massive, part of the wage budget that leaves a big hole now for players to come in and take up the money that they were on, then that's a massive positive for me. Like I said, you could sit me here now and say, right, okay, you've got Andre Gomez, Kurt Zuma, and a boss striker and a right back cover in the summer, and I'd still go, brilliant, sound, we're going to break on and hopefully we can challenge the top 6. And I'd say, who's left the football club? And if you sat and said no one, I'd say, well, okay, fair enough, we've brought the players in we need to, but we really now need to be looking at moving on the deadwood. If you sat in and said, we've brought in 3 players, a striker, Gomez and Zuma, and we've got rid of Yannick Bolasie, we've got rid of Vlasic because he didn't want to be here, we've got rid of Sandro, we've got rid of Snardling because he wanted to start in 11 space and we couldn't provide it, then I'd say, brilliant, that's the deadwood left. We've already obviously released Ashley Williams, and not giving him a contract extension. He was a player that was on quite a significant amount of money a week. That's now gone. That's a 50, 60 grand that can be put on a new player. Phil Jagielka, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect him obviously, but again, another 50, 60 grand that can be put on another player. Obviously the other releases were under 23s players, so they wouldn't have been on an awful lot of money anyway. But like I said, it's really, really key to this summer for me that Marcel Brands and Marco Silva sit together and they not only look at players that they want to bring in, they not only look at potential signings, but they also look at players that they need to sell. And I think we're looking at a bunch of players here, in your Moraleses, in your Sandros, in your Balassis, in your Cuco Martinez, that there's no real excuse to not be giving them out to everybody, not be saying to everybody, have these players, please. Listen, if we're sat here and we've still got these players at the end of the summer and Brands comes out, or it's leaked that Brands and Silva just couldn't sell them, there's not much we can do about that. We're just going to have to rue the mistakes of Ronald Koeman and Steve Walsh and just, again, keep them for another season, loan them out so they're away from the club, and then sell them again next summer, and that's going to have to continue to happen until their contracts run out effectively. But I think if Marcel Brands can sell these players, it'll be a massive, massive positive for him, and again, it'll be another star in the Marcel Brands appreciation book. For me, there's 6 stars in there already for the players he brought in the summer. There'll be many more when he brings in players this summer, but again, I think it's equally as important to get rid of them deadwood players, and I think we're all in agreement here in the live comments and in the comment section down below if you're watching a YouTube video of that. There is a certain amount of players, including the ones I've just included at the club at the minute, that just need to leave because they're taking up too much money on the wage bill. Even if they're on 10 grand a week, they're still taking up too much money on the wage bill because they've got no future at Everton Football Club, so they're only going to be taking money out the club. We're not going to get anything from Sandro Ramirez. We're not going to get anything from Yannick Balassi now. We're not going to get anything from Cuco Martinez now. So these are players that, and I'm not saying that because I hate the players or I think they're absolutely awful. It's just the way football works. Yannick Balassi could go and do a job at another Premier League club. Sandro Ramirez might, be able to do a job in the Turkish league or the German league. Cuco Martinez might be able to go and do a job in the Dutch league, but they can't do a job for Everton, and they're not going to get in this squad for where we want to go and where we want to be. And if we want to be challenging the top 6 next season, if we want to be breaking into that top 6 and then around that top 4, we can't have an injury-prone Yannick Balassi near the squad. We can't have a lad in Sandro Ramirez who is a centre-forward and hasn't scored a goal in 2 years near the squad. We just need to get rid, and like I said, it's not Marco Silva's fault, it's not Marcel Brands' fault. These are players that were brought in by previous managers and previous directors of football that they must have been smoking some high class A drugs to even consider bringing these players in, because it's quite clear that they don't fit into our system and they're just not good enough. But again, like I said, that's a massive, massive part of this summer for me. Where are we in the live comments? Bob says, be nice to have, we read that one. Bob says, Shane Koeman and all wasted all of that 200 million. Exactly on players that don't fit into the squad, don't fit into the setup as well. Bob says, I hope we can keep Lookman. He's some player, even in his cameos off the bench. No one is like him. Fair enough. We'll talk about Ademola Lookman in just a second. And Bob says, if Silva can't get a tune out of Sandro, I don't think any manager would. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think any manager would. I don't necessarily, I've got nothing against the kid, and I'm not going to sit here and rip him and say he's absolutely shite, but he's not good enough for where we want to be, and he's not good enough for where we are now either. Let's be honest, is he better than Cenk? No. Is he better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin? No. And we've identified that those 2 players aren't good enough to take us forward in that striker position anyway, so what's the point in having a 4th, 5th choice striker on over 100 grand a week? There's no point whatsoever. If you're not enjoying this team so far, please do leave a like. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. And if you haven't already, like I said, please do subscribe. We're literally so close to 500 subscribers now, so it would mean a massive amount to me if you could hit that subscribe button. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the middle tier of players now. Of course, listen, you've got the likes of Morgan Schneiderlin, you've got the likes of Ademola Lookman. Nikola Vlasic could also be in this sort of in this category of players that we know have got potential, we know can be an asset to the squad, but aren't necessarily going to play week in, week out. Now, I guess this is sort of an opinion type of thing, I think, for me, for Marcel Brands and Marco Silva. This is about both men sitting down and saying, right, we know Morgan Schneiderlin's good enough to play in the Premier League. We know we can come in and do a job. He proved that in the last 6 games of the season. He was absolutely fantastic. He was unbelievable. We know we can do that. But is he worth the money that he's on to do that? Or could we sell him, get his wages back, get some money back for him, and bring in a player that's equally as good, won't be on as much money, and is again happy to sit down and be called upon when he's needed and not start week in, week out, especially if we're bringing Andre Gomez in to be that player that starts next to Idrissa Gana Gueye. Now again, that's a conversation that Brands and Silva are going to have to have. They're going to have it over Morgan Schneiderlin. they're going to have it over Ademola Lookman, and they're going to have it over Nikola Vlasic. But what I would say, in my opinion, is if you brought those 3 players into a room and you said, right, even if the decision was made that they are worth the money that they're on and they're worth being squad players, and you brought those 3 players in and said, you're going to be a part of the squad next season, you're not going to start every week, you're going to be in and out, and you're probably going to be coming in when players are injured or need a rest, I think personally all 3 would turn around and go, no, I want to start and roll in another club. I think Morgan Schneiderlin's proved with his performances that he wants to be week in, week out playing for Everton Football Club, and that's fair enough. He's gone about that the right way, and I couldn't praise him enough for that. But I think if you stuck Ademola Lookman in the room and said, you're just going to be a player that comes off the bench every now and then, I think he'd say, well, I can go to Southampton and start every week, or I can go to Leipzig and start every week. If you brought Nikola Vlasic in, I think you'd have to bring Nikola Vlasic in and say you're going to be captain starting every week and on every set piece for him to change his mind, because I think his mind is very, very much away from Everton Football Club, and I really, really do think that he wants to leave the club. And again, even Morgan Schneiderlin, you brought him in and said, listen, we appreciate your efforts for the last 6 games of the season, but Andre Gomez is coming in and you're going to be the player that comes in when he can't play, when he's injured, when he's, needs a rest or whatever. I still think Morgan will turn around and go, well, you know what, I'm not happy with that role. I want to go and, pursue me football somewhere else. I want to go and play week in, week out in another league or at another club. And you know what, that's absolutely fair enough. You can't blame them players for that. And as much as I think it would be a loss because we obviously need squad players, I think again, it's money off the wage bill, and it's money off the wage bill that Marco Silva and Marcel Brands can use for better, and can use for bringing in players that will, not be on as much a week, will cost a lot less than those players did, and will come in and do a very similar role. What we need to be careful of is not getting rid of too many players and not upsetting too many players to the point where clubs, like we mentioned earlier on in the stream, and like we mentioned in previous streams as well, if we sell too many players and we become desperate, what clubs will do is they'll bounce on that and they'll realise that. For example, let's say the rumours were true that we were going to loan Yerry Mina out to Fenerbahce. I don't think they are to, but let's say they are to. We loaned them out thinking that, oh yeah, we've got X, Y and Z centre-half on the horizon. What the clubs of those centre-halves then do is they go, right, we've only got Michael Keane, so you desperately need us to sell you our player, so we want another 25 million for him. And then Everton go, yeah, okay, and they go, we want another 10 million for him, and we want this clause and we want that clause. So we need to be careful of not falling into a trap of selling too many players and then being desperate, and then clubs holding us out because they understand that desperateness. I don't think Marcel Brands is stupid enough to let himself get in that situation, but like I said, those are 3 players that I personally believe, if you sat down and said you're going to be part of a squad, you're not going to be playing week in, week out, would say, right, well, I want to go and pursue my football somewhere else. And again, like I said, it's not the worst thing in the world. I personally would like to keep a Morgan Schneiderlin on board. I wouldn't mind keeping Ademola Lookman on board. Listen, if Leipzig come in with a £40 million bid for Ademola Lookman, I'd sell him tomorrow. But for the money that they probably would pay for him, 15, 20, and the fact that he could come off the bench for us in 20 games a season and do a job, then I'd keep him. Obviously, if somebody come in for Morgan Schneiderlin for 30 million, you'd say, yes, sell, because he's not playing every week. So we're going to get 30 million back for a player that doesn't play in our squad. Sell, of course you would. But I think in the grand scheme of things, being realistic, these are players that you wouldn't mind seeing at Everton Football Club next season, because they are squad players. And I know a lot of people say, well, Morgan's on too much money to just be a squad player. He's on too much money to just sit on the bench. But I think realistically, players in this day and age, A, are on a lot of money anyway, and B, don't want to be sitting on the bench. You're going to struggle to find a player that says, right, I want to come to Everton, a club that aren't playing European football, aren't, at the minute challenging for any sort of title, and I want to come and sit on the bench and, look at all of these players playing and come in every now and then. You're going to struggle to find that. So I think if we could keep hold of them players, it would be a positive. However, I do understand people saying if we can get rid of them and cash in on them, get a little bit of money now while we can, and then of course get the money off the wage bill to put towards players that are going to come in and are going to actually affect the squad in more of a a productive way. I understand why people are saying that. Again, like I said, if you're going to sell a Morgan Schneiderlin and you're going to bring in a player that can be in and out week in, week out and is absolutely fantastic on a lot less money and for a lot less more of a transfer fee than what we sold Schneiderlin for, fair enough. But again, that player has to be there for me. Where are we now? Mess says Kenny on loan, good move for him. I agree. I think it's a fantastic move for him and for all parties. Mess says need another number 10. Very, very interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Do you think we do need another number 10? Leave them in the live comments and in the comment section below on YouTube. I do think we need another creative midfield player. I don't really like the word number 10 because I don't know. I think Gylfi had a fantastic season, but I don't know. I just don't know. I do think we could do with another creative midfield player, if I'm being honest. Bob says, just give Sandro a payoff to leave us. I think that's what's looking like we're going to have to do, to be honest. Mo says, what do you think? Who do you think will be our striker and RM next season? I'd love Timo Werner and David Neres, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think Richarlison will be our right winger next season. Personally, I do. I think he'll be the right midfielder. In terms of striker, I don't really know, to be honest. There's a lot of names being bandied about. There's a lot of names being rumoured. Kevin Augustine was one rumoured in January, and a player that will continue to be rumoured, in my opinion. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. We don't really know yet, because there's no real rumour in there that you can go, right, he looks like he's going to join Everton Football Club. There's just papers putting together stupid rumours like Mitrovic and Welbeck and all this shite. Bob says, can we expect these directors of football to do research on Sandro? That was negligent. What Koeman and Walsh did, looked at superficial Malaga stats for one season. Exactly. And I think it became quite clear quite quickly that Steve Walsh wasn't a director of football whatsoever. He didn't know what he was doing, and Ronald Koeman really didn't know what he was doing in terms of being a manager either. So them two as a combination were just shocking, to be honest with you. And he brought in players that didn't fit the system. We signed about 13 number 10s. We signed Klaassen, we signed Rooney, we signed Sigurdsson. We had about 4 players that could play that number 10 role, playing in a 3 midfield that included 2 central defensive midfielders. And I think, to be honest, the whole time at Everton that, fell under the Koeman and Walsh reign was just a little bit of a shit show, and I'm just so made up it's over. And we've actually got Marcel Brands in, who's a man with a level head, who understands football and understands what he needs to do to take us forward, and Marco Silva, who I personally think is the manager to take us forward as well. Sue says, good show, Cam. Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you very much for the kind words. If you're all enjoying the show so far, please do leave a like and hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already. CJ says, how do we persuade good players to come as we have no European football? Again, it's just about the tick of Marco Silva, really, isn't it? A little bit like how we persuaded Luca Dean to come last season. Luca Dean famously said in an interview that he was happy at Barcelona, he was more than happy to stay at Barcelona, but Marco Silva picked up the phone to him, had one conversation with him, and he said, listen, I want to go to Everton. And if we can have that effect on players this summer, then that'll be absolutely fantastic. Bob says, if we play these players into cash to end their contracts, it'll be a good incentive to get rid of them rather than these undesirable staying on heavy wages. Exactly, and maybe the likes of Sandro will feature in pre-season, maybe the likes of Yannick Bolasie will feature in pre-season to get the eyes of clubs, for clubs to go, oh, you know what, he looks a little bit decent, I'll cash in on him, and then any offer we get, we go, yeah, go on, see you later. But, I suppose we'll have to see what happens. And Mo says we need a young 10 to come in for Gylfi when he's playing bad. I think we do need a player that can come in and give Gylfi a little bit of a kick up the bum. I think Gylfi had a really, really good season, to be honest, although I was quite critical at times, but wouldn't harm him having a player, a younger, creative player to come in and really, really put the pressure on Gylfi. I think it would only up Gylfi's game. But anyway, before we leave the team, I want to talk about obviously the group of players that we know, we're gonna have going into next season. We know the likes of Richarlison isn't up for sale, Luca Dean isn't up for sale, Bernard isn't up for sale. No matter what the papers tell you, just don't listen to it. They just chat major shite. Luca Dean's going nowhere near London. Richarlison's going nowhere near Italy. It's just absolute bollocks. But like I said, as well as obviously outgoings, which I've spoken about, incomings is also a massive thing. It's a massive thing every single summer. We all want to know who's coming in. We all want to know which players are going to be in the squad next season. We know we want Andre Gomez. We know we want Kurt Zouma. We know we need a centre forward as well. And if we can be sitting here at the end of the transfer window and we can say, right, we've got a midfield of Idrissa Gana Gueye, who again is another important player who we must keep for me, Andre Gomez, Kurt Zouma playing centre-half next to Michael Keane, all on permanent deals, and then, a new striker up front that has proven to be able to score 15 goals a season, a player that can come in and we know can do a job, then I think it's really, really positive. If you're then looking and you're going, and we've also sold this group of players that are nowhere near good enough, again, it only adds to the positivity. But it is massively important that we bring in these players as well. We all know that. Marcel Brands knows that. Marco Silva knows that. As well as getting rid of the dead wood, it's massively important that we bring in fresh players as well. We bring in the players that helped us, finish the season strong last season, aka your Gomez and your Zouma, and we also bring in the players that are going to be able to take us to that next step, going to be able to make sure that we challenge the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal and United next season. Going to be able to make sure that we absolutely batter top 6 sides again at home, but we also go away and give them a game at their ground as well, and we also make sure we obliterate every other team at Goodison Park, and I think that's massively important as well. CJ said, could Kevin play as a backup number 10? Kevin, Jean Kevin Augustin, are you referencing? I think he probably could, to be honest. Yeah, I think he's played there before. Whether he or Kevin Morales, you're probably referencing actually. Could Kevin Morales play as a backup number 10? Yeah, I think the main thing with Kevin Morales is, for me, what's going to be the issue now, and what has always been the issue, is his attitude. I just think his attitude is a little bit poor. I think he wants to be in the team week in, week out. I think his best position is probably a number 10, to be honest. I don't think he's got the legs anymore to play on the wing, and I don't think he's a striker. I think his best position is a number 10, but would he realistically want to be a backup? I don't know. I suppose that's a question that they'll have to ask Kevin. Mo says, I would keep Morales as a sub. Fair enough. Maybe he's not on maybe he's not on the top of the list for Marco Silva and Marcel Brands to get rid of. And Mo says, can you say hi to Chris, Big Thighs, Sally the Dark Skin Beauty, Festy Bear the Chocolate Rhino, You're the Zulu Warrior, and Young Glorious Hairy Chest? Thanks, Cam. That's absolute random. I don't understand what any of that means, but there you go. It is what it is. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's team. A massive thank you to everybody for watching. A massive thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as well. If you haven't already, please do leave the stream a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me. And if you haven't as well, please hit that subscribe button. Like I said, so close to 500 subscribers now. So I'd massively appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like I said, at Mighty Blues YT. If you're watching us a YouTube video afterwards as well, leave your comments in the comment section down below. I'll be replying to those all night as well. Don't forget to join us on Wednesday for another live stream. It's going to be another Blues News episode. We're going to be talking about the latest news surrounding Everton Football Club. We'll be live at 6:15 on Wednesday night, so don't forget to join us for that one. Anyway, a massive thank you to everybody for watching. A massive thank you to everybody in the live comments as per usual, and everybody watching as a YouTube video afterwards. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Like I said, don't forget to join us on Wednesday at 6:15. Leave all your thoughts and your comments in the comment section down below about today's stream, and what you think. Who are the players that for you need to leave the football club immediately? Who are the players that are probably in contention of leaving, but you wouldn't mind keeping as a squad player? And who are the players that you just absolutely don't want to go anywhere? And who do you want to bring in as well? Leave your comments in the comment section down below. Which positions do you want to make sure we strengthen in the summer? And if you've got any names in mind, leave them down below as well. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's team. A massive thank you for watching. Please hit the like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.